Hey guys, this is Gerry O, point for Kids First. Right now we're at the Jim Henson Studios, and it is amazing. And we are going to interview the executive producer for Doozers, and also the son of the founder of Gumby. It's going to be amazing. We're going to learn so much about both, and it's just going to be fantabulous. So definitely stay tuned. A quick little fact that this whole studio used to actually belong to Charlie Chaplin in the 1930s. Hey guys, this is Gerry O, point for Kids First. Right now I'm with Joe Clokey, who is the son of Art Clokey, the creator of Gumby. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here. This is wonderful. We're in Jim Henson Studios. It's beautiful. So my first question is, how many Gumbies do you have in your house?
Oh, we have quite a few Gumbies. We have, in our house, my kids have a lot of the toys, the bendables. And we have like Gumby's fire truck from the episodes. Actually, from the late 80s episodes, we have the modern Gumby fire truck. And then we have Prickle and Goo and Professor Cap and the Blockheads and about 50 Gumbies that the kids have played with. So we get a lot of free toys, working for that.
And also, over the entire 60 years of Gumby, how's it to see his almost evolution from the first episode to now, where you guys are now making a new series for Gumby, correct?
That's right. We are developing a new TV series, and the evolution's been fantastic. The 50s episodes, which are still most people's favorites, my dad was really in the zone when my mom and dad created Gumby, and in the episodes in 56 and 57, Gumby was, instead of being clay out of molds, Dad actually used rolling pins, and they were more organic looking. And Gumby was younger, and Gumby and Pokey would have these adventures. And these adventures sometimes got very surrealistic and trippy, but they always had a good moral to them and a lot of action, kinesthetic action, and a lot of heart. And the other element that Gumby had in the 50s was art. So what I noticed in the 50s and in the 60s and then later in the 80s is, what are the keys that makes Gumby so special and iconic and still loved by millions of people? And what I've discovered as the son of the creator, and now that I've been doing it for 15 years, what turns people on the most is that Gumby has heart, art, kinesthetic action, adventure, and kind of a surrealistic, trippy nature, because he shapeshifts and has adventures that are unique.
Yeah, I mean, and he's so just kind of nonchalant about it. I need to stretch my legs to get in a spaceship. Okay. Which I love, because it's really fun. Or I need to roll in the ball to escape aliens. Okay. So it's just really fun to see him have adventures, and I think it's fantastic that kids can just see that, and that's cool, because all of these shows today aren't like that. There's really nothing like Gumby out there right now.
You're right, and the creators of SpongeBob sent my dad a picture of SpongeBob and asked him to sign it, because they said, we feel like you're our forefather, that first, before there was SpongeBob, there was Gumby. And there's a lot of Gumby in some of the more successful modern cartoons of our era, because Gumby, like Phineas and Ferb and SpongeBob, they were inspired by Gumby, because Gumby's not mean. He's creative, it's funny, it's inventive, it's imaginative, like those shows, and kind of silly. SpongeBob's more silly than Gumby, but they both have the same heart, So, I don't know, Gumby just keeps living on. We keep doing modern adventures, and Gumby's always lived in the modern era, whether it was the 50s episodes, the early 60s, the late 60s, the late 80s, the mid 90s, and now we're doing a new series. It's always evolving.
And how do you think kids relate today? I mean, kids are now watching all these different cartoons, like Phineas and Ferb, for example.
Yeah.
They're now watching these kids building these huge structures instead of Gumby, who went to different planets, different places, just had fun.
Well, the lead writer for Phineas and Ferb, he told me, he says, I grew up on Gumby, and when the creators and I were coming up with Phineas and Ferb, we modeled it off Gumby and Pokey, because they're not mean. And you look at Phineas and Ferb, they're not mean. They're just having fun adventures, and they use a lot of imaginative, smart, clever writing. And that's what Gumby was about.
Yeah, and can you tell us a little bit about the new series that you guys are making for Gumby?
Well, our showrunner, the lead writer, was a lead writer for Phineas and Ferb, speaking of that. And we're going to be coming up with a whole bunch of new stories, and we're really excited about it.
And when do you think our viewers can see to the show comes out?
And it takes us a couple years to produce them, so it'll take a few years to produce them. And clay animation, people always say that stop motion animation is painstaking. It's not. It's actually less expensive than good computer animation, and actually I think it's quicker because the animator is actually animating about 8 seconds a day per animator, and they're actually making it happen instead of all the steps it takes with the computer animation. You have to build the sets and all that, but that's, I think, one of the reasons that the original Star Wars looked so good is they were real sets. Our animators in the 60s, their next jobs were in other films, and some of our animators went on to do the stop motion work on Star Wars. And the new Star Wars coming out, I know, is going to have more motion control, which is stop motion. So it's going back to the real sets with real light. So
yeah, it's definitely good to go back to the old timers because you're right, the real sets do look better than when somebody just computer generates a green screen background. The real set is the real deal. It looks authentic almost.
Right. And we use computer animation now in stop motion too. I mean, we use waters never looked good with stop motion. I mean, my dad would use black plastic and it would look silly, and so I think it's okay to use computer animation for that, or snow or things like that. But sometimes it's charming to use the stop motion method. Like you bring it, you have smoke coming out and you want to use like cotton balls. It's kind of cool, or my dad used to scratch, when the rocket ship would go off to the moon, he'd scratch each frame on the film to make it look like that. We can't do that anymore because we don't shoot on film. We shoot, digitally.
Yeah.
So, but that was a cool kind of retro tactile way to create effects. And that's pretty.
Do you have any cool or interesting trivia about Gumby that our viewers could know?
Oh, I'm full of trivia on Gumby. I give talks across the country called Gumby Through the Years, and I show my dad's early animation before he did Gumby, and then all the way to the present time, the current things we're animating. And, people always ask, why are the blockheads have G and J? Why are they G and J? And people always thought all these different reasons, but really it's because they were the shape of the ear. The J and the G kind of represent the shape of the ear. And the other trivia that people tend to ask is, why Gumby's bump? And that's because my grandfather's high school portrait, he had a big cowlet coming up, and it looked like Gumby's bump. So I think that's where that came from. Do you have any questions about Gumby?
I have one question. How did you decide, the entire model of Gumby? I mean, he is very unique, and you would never think, wait a second, that is interesting.
It was based on Gumbasia, which was an art film my dad did at USC to show off kinesthetic film forces, which is kind of like being on a roller coaster. It's massaging the eye cells for excitement, the way you edit in a quick way, the way you move the camera, the way you move the objects in the camera. So what he did is he took some clay shapes, geometric shapes, balls, triangles, rectangles, and so forth, and animated the clay with the fast editing, with the camera moves in a way that would viscerally move your body, like you're on a roller coaster. You'd call that modern filmmaking today, but he did that in 1953. And so he applied that to the characters. When they wanted to make a series for children, Gumby is more of a geometric shape, if you think about it. And he did the bump kind of throw people's eyes off, so it wasn't just this pointed thing.
Yeah, first look at Gumby, you think, oh, it's just another, wait a second, why is there a bump on his head?
Exactly. The bump of wisdom, my dad would say. Yeah. But another thing about Gumby is he's very optimistic and he's caring. And he likes to leave, what Gumby's godfather, Tom Sarnoff, always says, is that Gumby always leaves a place better than when he found it. Or at least he tries.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking to me. Before you leave, I actually have a Gumby. And I was wondering if you could sign the Gumby.
Hey, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say is the most exciting thing to me of late, more exciting than new episodes. I mean, I'm excited about doing new episodes, and that's, to me, we're gonna take the best of the 50s, the best of the 60s, the best of the 80s, and make something new that transcends everything. But the 50s episodes are really special, and they're coming out on DVD this fall.
Yes, all the 50s original DVDs coming out all together with, you can even get one of these flexible Gumbies in the package.
I spent the last 5 to 7 years remastering all the original episodes from their original camera rolls. And what's cool is, instead of the inner negatives that we used to use to make masters, these are the first rolls of film that weren't put through old technology. So they were actually the original rolls from the cameras. So they had no graininess to them. They didn't have that film of oldness to them. And so when we mastered them onto tape from the film, we go, wow, I never knew all those colors existed. I mean, it looks amazing. So I'm excited about that. And we put the original soundtrack on. And in 1960, they were all cut in half and made two 5-minute episodes. I actually edited them together for the first time since 1960 back to their 11-minute form. So they haven't been seen that way since the mid-50s. So that release of the 50s episodes is, to me, the most exciting thing about what's happening with Gumby right now.
I'll definitely check that out because that is really cool, and I would personally love to see all the originals as pure as really possible.
And the one more exciting thing that's happening in Glendora, California, we're having the 2nd annual Gumby Fest, which is a stop-motion film festival. And we have Robert Stromberg, the director of Maleficent, is going to be speaking. His dad worked at our studio back in the 60s, and he won an Academy Award for Avatar and Alice in Wonderland, being their art director. He's going to be speaking. We have our animators from the 60s and 80s and 90s are going to be there to teach about stop motion to kids. We're going to have Gumby's birthday party. We're going to have a museum that has all of our clay characters. I do have Gumby's, the real Gumby, Pokey, and Prickle at home.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty fun. We keep busy. We do museum exhibits, and I'm Gumby's brother, so I have to make sure my brother gets well taken care of.
Yeah.
You want me to sign your thing?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It was really nice to meet you.
It was nice meeting
It's
you.
really an honor to be with you. You're really good. You're going to put all those adults out of business with your interview skills.
Thank you so much.
You mean it on the back?
Whatever you want.
What do you want, back or front?
Probably back would have more room.
Yeah.
Gumby is very skinny.
You know, my dad signed these, and these Sharpies wear off of these things.
Really?
Yeah. But maybe if you don't put your fingers on it, it won't.
Okay, I'll just hold the feet.
Gumby appreciates it.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
My pleasure.
To our viewers, definitely check out all those things. Definitely check out the Gumby Fest, the new episodes that are coming out in a few years, and also the remastered DVD with clear, original 50s cartoons. Thank you so much.
It's great to meet you.
It's nice meeting you.